Alright, guys, welcome to Flavo Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host, Flavo Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Alright, guys, Noche UFC is officially in the books. It's headlined by Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. This was supposed to be the first title defense under the Alexa Grasso era. Back in, I believe it was March 5th. That is when, or March 4th, if I'm not mistaken. That is when Valentina faced Alexa Grasso, and in the fourth round, Valentina spun around. I believe she was trying to do like a spinning back fist or something along that nature. Alexa was able to capitalize and jump on the back of Valentina, bringing her down to the floor. And Valentina was able to not get out of the back control that Grasso had. And Grasso was able to capitalize, and it wasn't a rear naked choke, but it was more of like a chin crank. Grasso, in the first meeting they had, squeezed as hard as possible, and all you just saw was, Valentina is pretty pale, but it was red from here up, and over here she was white as a ghost. And that's how Alexa became the first female Mexican champion in the promotion's history. Now going into Noche UFC, it's a very historic event because it was Mexican Independence Day, and September 16th is a very big day for a lot of Mexican athletes, Mexican fighters, Mexicans in general. All right, and I watched the fight. Went all 5 rounds, went to the distance. Round 1, it was a very classic Valentina fight. She was able to utilize the jab. Valentina did say after the fight, I believe in the press conference, that she ended up breaking her thumb or in that nature. But we'll get to that point later on. Round 1, Valentina utilized the jab a lot. Alexa was trying to pick up reads and stuff like that. She wasn't throwing a lot of volume throughout the fight, but especially in round 1, I felt like it was more of a Valentina round. Gave it to Valentina. I felt like 90% of what typology he was gave it towards Valentina. Round 2, now this was an interesting round. I felt that Valentina was just trying to amp up a little bit. But last time she amped up, she ended up eating a lot of shots, and I felt like Alexa was getting her timing correctly. There was, I believe, I forgot what portion exactly in round 2, but there was an exchange, and similar to how Adesanya ended up rocking Whitaker. Well, now just reiterate that into what happened in round 2. In Alexa versus Valentina, and Alexa was pretty much doing the same thing that Israel Adesanya did to Robert Whitaker in their first meeting. It was just an exchange, and Alexa just threw one more punch, and it just landed on the chin, and it took Valentina backpedaling. She ended up doing like a whole reverse somersault. It was hilarious, but also at the same time, Valentina was able to recover very quickly, and it was scored a knockdown. It was scored a knockdown for Alexa Grasso. Gave round 2 to Alexa Grasso. I thought that the fight was going to be at the very near towards an end. I was wrong. I felt that Valentina utilized her wrestling very wisely in round 2. And on to round 3. Round 3 was a pure domination of Valentina, utilizing the jab, throwing more punches. Grasso, she wasn't throwing a lot of volume, and I know her coaches were asking her to throw, and, because whenever Alexa threw, Valentina didn't like it, and it felt like Alexa was the stronger power puncher. Valentina was just throwing 1,000 different jabs, and it was just mainly to just figure out her range, her distance and stuff, and she was getting pieced apart little by little as the fight started to go on. Valentina takes round 3. Round 4, now this to me was the most important round because so many people had it all over the place. All right, I saw Bisping say that Valentina won round 4. I saw a whole bunch of MMA journalists say that it was round 4 for Alexa. Going into this round, I'm like, all right, Alexa needs to win this round in order for her to reclaim her belt, because if she loses this round, I don't see the likelihood of her, finishing Valentina, because I felt like the way that she finished Valentina was just, she took advantage of one bad mistake, and I don't see Valentina, making too many mistakes after she, was able to identify that, right? So in round 4, Valentina's utilizing the jab. Alexa is trying to pick up reads and stuff like that, throwing, but at the same time, just not throwing enough volume, right? To making sure that Valentina respects to not keep going forward. And what ends up happening, she was able to utilize a takedown. She was able to stuff a takedown, and she was able to grab forward of the neck of Valentina. And Valentina tried putting her fingers down, but anytime she tried putting her fingers down, Alexa ended up picking her up a little bit and just started blasting knees to the front of the head, the top of the head. And Valentina was trying to protest, saying that her fingers were on the floor. Her fingers were never on the floor when Alexa ended up drilling knees into her skull, because Alexa was smart enough to lift up her body, forcing her fingers to be risen up off the canvas, and then bam, I believe she landed I want to say a good 6 to 7 good knee shots, taking the fight from the middle of the octagon all the way against the cage. And I felt like Valentina capitalized off of a mistake that Alexa Grasso ended up doing. Alexa got a little bit too happy. She tried going for the armbar. She didn't put any hooks in, and Valentina was able to, squirm out of there and bam, go back onto top control. And overall, when Valentina did utilize the wrestling, Alexa was able to scramble to get back up, and she really didn't do much with it. And that's why I ended up giving Alexa Grasso round 4, because she ended up utilizing more damage and more significant strikes, as opposed to Valentina Shevchenko, who was utilizing the jab and was trying to use her wrestling, but whenever she used her wrestling, it didn't result to anything at all. And damage is one of the things that judges look at, and that's what I ended up looking at myself when I ended up rewatching the fight last night, and then obviously the day of the fight. Round 4 goes to Alexa Grasso, and then round 5 I had a 2-2 going into the 5th and final round, and I saw Valentina winning 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the fight. And then once we were down to the 2 minute 30 second mark, I felt like the tide had changed, and Valentina tried, I don't know if it was like a wizard she was trying to do or something of that nature, but it looked like a standing triangle. It's not standing triangle, like a standing what's it called? I don't know. She had Alexa's arm up. It looked like she tried to just sweep the feet. I don't know if it was something of a wizard or anything like that, but she didn't do it correctly. And instead, Alexa ended up, just shifting her hips, just throwing her down to the floor and capitalizing on her back. She put hooks in. It looked like she was gonna, finish her off. I was screaming at the TV. I'm like, just throw punches, because I'm thinking Valentina is defending the choke perfectly, but she gave up her back. She was flatlined at one point. I'm thinking that Alexa's just gonna keep on punching. She has a minute left. Tries to go for a submission. I felt like Herb Dean was very, very interested. Not interested, but I felt like he was on the fence whether or not he should stop it or not. I felt that if Alexa just threw punches nonstop when she had her grounded, I felt like the ref was gonna end up stopping the fight, but that didn't happen. It goes to the final bell. I have it 3 rounds to 2 Alexa Grasso, but judges didn't see it like that. One judge had it for Alexa Grasso 3 rounds to 2. Another judge had Valentina 3 rounds to 2, and then another judge had Valentina winning up 3 rounds to 2, but gave round 5 as a 10-8 round. Now, I understand the criteria of a 10-8 round. Look, I'm not mad about that. Looking back at it a second time, I do give Alexa Grasso a 10-8 round, but man, what's it called? So many people were saying that wasn't a 10-8 round. It wasn't a 10-8 round. I feel like if you're about to finish off your opponent, you're dominating your opponent for a good lengthy amount of time, I feel like that qualifies as a 10-8 round. And I feel like, Valentina had very little defense, in the last minute and a half on trying to get out of, that flurry that Alexa was trying to impose on her. But overall, it was a majority. A majority draw. Alexa retains the belt. What happens next? Who knows? I mean, Alexa says that she wants to just recover for a little bit. She doesn't want to fight at this very moment. She can't think about, if a trilogy happens or not. She'll do what the company, will tell her. She's okay with, a trilogy. But if it was up to her, she would be okay, moving on and giving somebody else a title shot because she doesn't want to hold up the division. I really do appreciate that. If I'm Alexa Grasso, I'm going for the trilogy just because of the fact that there's Erin Blanchfield in the background. And I'm sorry, Alexa Grasso. As much of a fan that I am of her, I just do not see her beating Erin Blanchfield. Erin Blanchfield, I think she's a total package. I think that her wrestling will impose on Alexa Grasso. I don't think she's better than Alexa Grasso in the striking department, but she's getting better and better and better. She's only like 23 or 24 years old, and I think that she might be the next champ because I feel like if Alexa Grasso faces Valentina Shevchenko for the third time, one, more money in both ladies' pockets, right? It's a big money fight right there. Two, I can see Alexa Grasso getting a title defense and retaining her belt. And I feel like, she needs to be a prize fighter and go for the big money fights. And that is the biggest money fight that she can make at this very moment. Because Valentina Shevchenko is considered, to me and to many others, as the greatest women's flyweight of all time. And if she can, get 2 wins under her resume by defeating Valentina Shevchenko, then she should get that done instead of fighting a killer who is Erin Blanchfield. It's sort of like the Khabib effect. Many people are not going to want to fight Erin Blanchfield just the same way that they did not want to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov when he was coming up the ranks in the lightweight division. And we ended up seeing how that story ended up playing out. And he is considered one of the better lightweights to ever step foot in the octagon. 29-0, never been defeated. Erin Blanchfield, she has been defeated. She's actually been defeated by a fighter that was actually on the card for Noche UFC, and that is one Tracy Cortez. And that was before both ladies got into the UFC. Noche UFC was a great card. Every Mexican fighter has won on the fight with the exception of Fernando Padilla. I feel like Fernando Padilla could have done more. When facing Kyle Nelson, I felt like at first I'm like judges ended up robbing Fernando Padilla, but then after watching the fight again, I'm like Kyle Nelson ended up doing just enough to be the one person to stop a Mexican fighter on Mexican Independence Day. We had Jack Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. That is a fight that I thought was going to be a banger, and it didn't live up to expectation in my eyes. I just felt like it was a glorified sparring match. JDM ended up winning 3 rounds to 2. Lupi Godinez was fighting on the card, and that was a phenomenal fight. She ended up winning by rear naked choke. We had Daniel Zellhuber, who looked great, ended up winning his fight. Raul Rosas Jr. makes his return after coming off of a loss against Christian Rodriguez. He ends up winning in round 1 by TKO, blasting Terrence Mitchell, and improving to 2-1 in the UFC. But overall, UFC Noche was a great card. Loved it from top to bottom. Only thing that was missing, in my opinion, was if they could have had a Kelvin Gastelum versus Shavkat fight. That would have been the cherry on top. But unfortunately, Kelvin couldn't fight. And Shavkat most likely is going to be fighting at some point later this year. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think. Did Valentina win the fight, or did Alexa win the fight? And would you guys want to see both ladies fight for a third time? Until then, guys, I'm Flavo Oriana, and I'm out of here. Peace, guys. See ya.